that Mnangagwa has actually appointed about 10 senators, and these senators included Gudawash Chakure. At some point was seen as a rival against Paul Temper Tungara. And obviously there's been an audio on social media. Sometimes I don't need to comment on everything, but I want to say something about this angle. And there is a perception that Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa prefers Gudawashe Takure over Paul Temper Tungwarara, or there is a perception that people wanted to give out that Paul Temper Tungwarara has been actually shutted out or has not been rewarded by Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa. I stand to differ with this. In fact, if there is anyone who is playing smart around Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, it is none other than Paul Temper Tungwarara. And I'll be unveiling on this live broadcast why I hold that opinion. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. Now, did Mnangagwa dish out Paul Temper Tungwarara by not appointing him to the Senate? Now, let's look at Tungwarara. In comparison with Gudawashe Chakure, there was a point when Gudawashe Chakure was actually, the co-option was starting from Mutare. Initially, you would remember the co-option that started was for Gudawashe Chakure, and it was opposed by retired General Chwenga. He tried to fight against this, including also Blessed Keza when he was alive. But eventually, Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa fought for Gudawashe Chakure. But when Gudawashe Chakure was now part of the Central Committee, Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa may have realized that he is taking seriously the issue of succession. Remember, Gudawashe Chakure and retired General Chwenga, in my views, they are not different. At the moment, Gudawashe Chakure may not have realized it, but Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa is using him, has been using him, and continues to use him. And false promises are being made that you will definitely take over presidency. My young brother, when I vacate a political office, we come a long way. We've been together in business, blah, blah, blah. These are the conversations that happen. But what Mnangagwa speaks is appearance versus reality. And Gudawashe Chakure may have failed to read that reality. It is the reality that has been properly read by Paul Temper Tungwarara. Tungwarara is actually looting a lot of resources in Zimbabwe. To him, he is more interested in business and also bootlicking Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, because this is a personality that has seen that when you do so, you escape poverty. When you do so, life becomes nice for you. You don't have to be ambitious. But contrary to Gudawashe Chakure, he is ambitious. So for Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa to keep him at the moment, he still needs him because he hasn't completely dealt with retired General Chwenga, his main rival. So he still needs Gudawashe Chakure. And by the way, Mnangagwa is using also Gudawashe Chakure as a shield against him. You see, that's why you would see Blessed Keza most of the times attacking a lot Gudawashe Chakure. And I mean, there was more attack on him specifically. And I strongly believe because Mnangagwa had projected him as the preferred successor, but that projection was fake. I've always said that I don't foresee Gudawashe Chakure leading Zimbabwe. As long as, and that being done or made possible by Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, he is very, very far from ascending to the presidency as far as the political dynamics of ZANU-PF are concerned. That is why when his ambitions to be part of the Central Committee were surfaced, he was not even attacked by retired General Chwenga. Even individuals such as the ZANU-PF spokesperson initially opposed his ascension to the Politburo. So, Mnangagwa Chakure at the moment, Mnangagwa is using him. He does not see this. Tungara is not worried about positions. Maybe Mnangagwa may have proposed, can I actually give you a position to be a senator? And he may have declined it behind the scenes and say, no, I'm comfortable where I am. I don't want these top positions. And that's what Mnangagwa, that's a person that Mnangagwa likes. A person that, if you hear Tungwarara, when others were speaking about 2030, he was saying, no man, we can give this ultimate even up to 2050 if God allows. That showed that he is not, it doesn't want to project himself as part of the individuals that are racing to take over political power from Mnangagwa. And Mnangagwa loves such a personality, and it is a personality that is ready to keep. And if you look, before the senators were appointed, the status of Tungara as the advisor was upgraded. It was upgraded. That on its own shows that he is still on the good side of Emma. By the way, for an individual like Tungwarara, political position doesn't matter. Like Mnangagwa Chakure, him is comfortable, even as a central committee member, and much into business, receiving tenders, unlawful because of his proximity. That is what he wants. That's why there is this publication. Let me read this story from the newzimbabwe.com, which says, Mnangagwa's loyalist Tungwarara says not aggrieved after missing out on new Senate slots. It's people who were expecting him to be there, but I don't think he wants to be even there. It says presidential investment advisor Paul Temper says he was not bothered by his exclusion from the nomination to 10 new Senate seats created under Constitutional Amendment Act number 3, according to a leaked audio recording that has been circulating online. In the audio, allegedly a conversation between Tungwarara and an unidentified person claiming to be a journalist, the investment advisor is heard stating that he was not aggrieved to have been left out of the list announced last week. I'm not worried. This is him speaking. I'm not worried about not being nominated, because that was not the reason I was doing what I was doing. Some of us work for the president without expecting to be rewarded. He said, that is the smartest move. It guarantees him of protection, saying, no, I was just working. I'm not expecting any reward. I'm not expecting to succeed the president. Contrary to Mnangagwa Chakure, Chakure expected that reward. He's still looking for more to be the president of Zimbabwe, to take over from Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa does not like such individuals. Tungwarara recently bulldozed into the ZANU-PF Central Committee, was one of the most visible campaigners for Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. The bill was tabled in Parliament, passed with a 2/3 majority, and signed into law by President Emmerson Mnangagwa in July. The amendment created 10 additional Senate seats to be filled by presidential appointees selected for their professional skills and competencies following consultation with Parliament. And now, Tungwarara, when he was ascending to the Central Committee of ZANU-PF, I've already said that it was not because of ambitions. He was sent by Emerson Mnangagwa when he was doing those, rallies, launching an on attack on this false prophet, Hubert Angel. That was a plot by Emerson Mnangagwa. He was using Tungara. And a lot of people thought that he was going to be fired. He was never fired because he was used. He was used, but obviously Mnangagwa pretended not to be behind what he was doing. But those who can read political lines can tell you that he was behind that. It was meant to curtail the ambitions of Mnangagwa Tagore. Tungwarara was targeting Mnangagwa Tagore, and it was meant to actually stop him to be ambitious, to take over from Emerson Mnangagwa. And also, what was done by the likes of Rutendo Matinyarara, and Rutendo Matinyarara being rewarded by Paul Temper Tungwarara, may have been part of the plot to actually stop the ambitious Mnangagwa Tagore. And they appeared to have succeeded that. That is why the loyalists of Mnangagwa Tagore, in spite of their attack to Tungwarara, in spite of their attack to Rutendo Matinyarara, what happens? These people remain in ZANU-PF. They remain in ZANU-PF. They remain close associates of Emerson Mnangagwa. It was Mnangagwa playing some of his lieutenants without them. And when they hear such actually analysis, sometimes they cannot believe it. But if they watch events closely, they will see that this person is making more sense than anybody else. Emerson Mnangagwa is cunning. He does not maintain friendships. He does not maintain allies. He was an ally of Chiwenga and more than 151 retired military generals who are 6 feet under at the moment, because that man does not keep relations. He is not a loyal personality to be trusted. Worse when you give him power. So, Speaker of Parliament Advocate Jacob Mdenda announced the nominees in the National Assembly on 18 August. The list included former War Veterans leader Jabulani Sibanda, former Urungwe West MP Mary Mliswa Chikoka, and Nokuthula Matsikenyere from Manicaland province, also named a businessman, Mnangagwa Tagore lawyer, and former MP Goodwills Masimiremba, Lucy Chitanga, retired Major General Gibson Mashingaise, a former minister and broadcaster, Makosini Hlongwane, former student leader Brilliant Dube, and Irene Mutumba. The appointments have drawn wide commentary. Masimiremba and Sibanda head ZANU-PF provincial structures in Harare and Bulawayo, while Mliswa lead the party in Mashonaland West. The inclusion of Dube, who previously held a senior role in opposition cycles and was associated with groups that opposed CAA3, has also sparked debate. Hlongwane, a former sports minister who fell out of favor after 2017, makes a return to public office, while Tagore's nomination has placed focus on the role of business in politics. The authenticity of audio attributed to Tungwarara could not be independently verified by this publication, and the identity of the other speaker remains unknown. Efforts to reach out to Tungwarara for comment were unsuccessful by the time of the publication. CAA3 was among the most disputed pieces of legislation this year, with Mnangagwa loyalists such as Tungwarara defending it as necessary for effective governance, while critics argued it concentrated power in the executive and reduced avenues for public participation. So thank you very much for watching us. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us